Good morning, and look who is back in the big square running the show today. Good to be home, good to be back. Welcome to the Nudelberg Daily Huddle, and excited to see everyone, interact with everyone this morning. And good morning to you, sir, coming to us from Kansas City, Missouri.
Live from Kansas City, Missouri, a brisk 44 degrees here. Had a great time yesterday. Landed, was able to do my rehearsal, and you know how we preach about practice.
Pre-game, baby.
So it was great. Like Jake called it a walkthrough. You know, I got my bearings on the stage. I got my bearings on the room. I love to do what they call sleep on it. So I know what the room looks like, so I could focus on, you know, what was happening. There was a glitch in one of the videos, and so all of them were like, look, wow, man, cool, get ahead of it, you know. So Shay jumped in and did that. Mr. Aarons is here this morning. Good morning. Good morning, Amanda. We were talking about you Saturday night. I had dinner with Mr. Latrento. Lots of good stuff, but we're excited to have you back. You know, it was a couple
I'm excited to be back. It's I did get to enjoy the huddle a few times while I was out in between all of the, you know, crazy mornings that we had. And I have to give a shout out to Jake, because what an unbelievable job he did. You know, I was almost concerned that my job wouldn't be here when I got back. He was doing such a good job, but it's good to know that we've got a very deep roster and a deep bench, and super proud of the way he stepped into the co-host role and just did a great job. Awesome to see him.
I'm really glad
to grow professionally,
because in any business, in any endeavor, you're only as good as your replacement. You know, so those of you who are in business that watch this, take a lesson away today. Look at your own business and say, what happens if, you know, I couldn't do the show or I couldn't show up? You know, how prepared is your team to actually do it? When you were coaching football, your team needed to be able to do it, you know, from 2 days before, not, you know, the day of.
Yep.
So,
exactly.
you know.
Exactly. So really awesome stuff. I've got tons to talk about from the past couple weeks. We're going to talk about a topic about the past couple of weeks. It's a great national day today for sales.
Did something special happen over the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, obviously Jules was born, and so it's been really fantastic. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But let's get to some wake up music. We'll come back and then we'll talk some more.
Wake up, everybody! Get up! Get up! Get up! Get up! Wake up! Come on! Come on, wake up, everybody. Did you know me? Maybe then now listen what you have to say. Wake up, everybody. No more sleeping in bed. No more about to thinking, time for thinking ahead. Come on now.
So nice little upgrade to StreamYard that I didn't notice or didn't know about, but it actually gives you a little time bar to let you know how much video is left before you come back and go live. Nice.
You didn't know what I was talking about. You noticed it. See?
Right. Yeah.
I'm not crazy.
Flying blind.
So my next shout out has to go to the Huddle, because the amount of messages, the amount of gifts, it has been like a revolving door at our house from UPS and from FedEx and from all the different places. If I tried to say thank you to everybody right now for all of the gifts that you guys gave me, we would take up the entire show doing that. I promise you that there are personal thank yous coming to everyone, but I am overwhelmed by the love from the Huddle in our community and the way you guys reached out with messages, with gifts, with flowers. Just really, really thankful for all of the support during the past 3 weeks as we started to get Jules acclimated to life.
So I don't know where in the show you're going to talk about this, so I'm probably popping out of order, but how do you come to, like, there's maternity leave, which I knew of. You
Sure.
took paternity leave. So, like, kind of unpack that mindset for me. When you said how long you were taking, I was like, what are you talking about? Your mother had I jumped right back into it.
It's a topic I wrote about this morning, and I think it's really important because maternity leave, which is paid time off, guaranteed paid time off for mothers after they give birth, we are the only industrialized nation that doesn't guarantee that for every citizen that's a part of the United States. Every other industrialized nation guarantees it. It's a must-have if you are in business. So, Gabby's company does an unbelievable job. She gets 4 months of paid maternity leave for her to go and take time away to be with the baby. But when I got into it, first of all, the reason paternity leave is as important as maternity leave is because the mother can't do it by herself, right? You have such an important supporting role as the father to really not do anything so important to keeping the baby alive, because she's doing all of that with the breastfeeding, but you got to do everything to support her to help her be successful. Because, I mean, whether you do vaginal delivery or you do C-section, the recovery itself is unbelievably agonizing. And while you're doing that recovery, you're supposed to be feeding this baby and keeping this baby alive as you're going through all these emotional swings, as you're sleep deprived, as you're trying to recover physically. It's impossible to do by yourself.
So that's probably the biggest paradigm shift, because my education, my upbringing was, you got to bring in the dollars, man,
Right.
So it was like, for me, we got to work, man. We got to go do it, and if you were not in a position where you were supported, which a lot of people are not, you don't really have that choice, So when I talked to my friends and my peers, it was like, what are you talking about, man? She gave birth on Friday, Monday, I was back in the office, it was like, that's just the way it was. So I love this shift of, hey, first of all, that stat that we're the only country,
only industrialized nation that does not guarantee the fact that you'll get paid time off for maternity leave. And there's scientific backing to this now. So I think the other part of it is that this is scientifically proven to be important. There's a behavioral psychologist at NYU who did a study and showed that babies whose moms received paid leave after 3 months had significantly higher brain activity and brain function than babies who did not. So if we care about our people, we're people first, right? I hear people first all the time. I love our employees. I care about our employees. How is there anything that's more important than taking care of mothers who are responsible for taking care of the next generation and setting them up to be successful?
Well, that speaks volumes for the fact that you didn't have brain activity in the first
I still don't have brain activity.
It is what it is, But you would think you'd hear more of this topic. I don't really hear this topic. This isn't brought up as something that we vote on or something that.
But it was. So I don't want to get political, because I don't want to get into the Democrat, Republican. I don't want to get in the polarizing conversation. But the reality is part of the Build Back Better plan, which was the initial lift for Joe Biden's administration. Part of that was guaranteeing maternity leave for mothers. Now, just like in all politics, it gets buried under 7 other things where people can't agree on that. So something that maybe everybody could agree on doesn't get passed. But that was part of the thing that got filibustered and then got eventually shelved because it didn't happen, probably because of all the other things that were on the ticket with it. But the reality is that it is things we can vote on. And that to me is my point, is whether we're a small business, whether we're a large business, if you aren't doing what you need to do in order to push this forward, and that's part of how you manage your business, right? Like, if you're not if you're not reserving correctly, if you're not handling your funds correctly, if you're not managing your business properly, where you can't afford your employees to take this important time for their kids, then you're mismanaging the business. Why would you punish them for something that you're not doing correctly?
So I'm really glad Amanda brought this up, because this is where I was going to go. Forget about all of the surroundings. What was it like for you? You're a worker. You always have been. You're a routine guy. This was definitely outside of your comfort zone. You looked frazzled a couple of times.
Shay, show me the master schedule. Do you have the picture of the master schedule anywhere? Did we get that one on there?
Yeah, hold on a second. Where are you?
So, you know, for me, you look frazzled, but I want to know on a personal level, do you feel bonded with Jules?
Yes. And not only do I feel bonded with Jules, but my marriage is in a better place, which I think is more important. Forget about my relationship with Jules, which is obviously important, and I want to be a great dad, but I got to spend such quality time with my wife, supporting her and helping her become more successful in this hard time for her, that I was in awe. I was absolutely in awe of the way she handled the pain, the way she's, battled through recovery, the way she's attacked breastfeeding and tried to do everything she could. But, so this was the ideal schedule for us, right? So this, obviously we couldn't live this to a T, but ideally this is what we were trying to live, were these 3-hour windows where every 3 hours he was eating. He would be up for anywhere between 30 to 60 minutes based on how long he fed and whether or not we got tummy time done, and we played and we did some activities. Then it was getting him back down for a nap and getting him to sleep for a few hours and then getting him back up. But so you asked how I just looked at it as my job now. My job was to make sure Gabby had water by her all the time and stayed hydrated, that I was getting anything I could get, that I was helping her with positioning and breastfeeding, that I was doing anything and everything I could. I got real good at sterilizing everything possible. I looked at it as my job, and I attacked that just the way I would attack our job here today or anything else that I do.
I'm so glad that you made the bridge to reality, to life, not only personal, but business, because business is part of life. What are your takeaways? Because this could be something that you can really offer us and the universe. Is what are the takeaways that you can apply to business? Did you learn anything about yourself?
About routine. It's all about routine. It doesn't change. The principles are the exact same. It's about routine and repetition. The more we worked with him and the more we set the standard for what we want him to do, the more he's able to conform to that and understand it, and the easier it made our life. The first 3 days, I was like, oh my God, I'm never going to sleep again. I'm ready to die. It was horrible. But coming to where we are now, 3 weeks later, we've made leaps and bounds of progress in getting into some kind of routine and making life a little bit easier. But there's one more takeaway, which is you have to use the tools. And there is an app, the NARA app, which is absolutely phenomenal. It allows us to track everything that we do, and it builds you a graph, it builds you a schedule, it builds you all of these things based on the data you put into it. So we use this to look at what we were doing to figure out what the routine was, what it should be, and we continue to use it today. We're going to use it for his entire first year to help us build the routine and the schedule for him to help him be successful.
So thank you, Jacqueline, for, that's theater of the obvious. He is amazing, obviously. I think so. And Lori speaks to it from first experience. Men back then just didn't do that. And so for me and you, it wasn't until you were 5 that I really got to do what you're doing with Jules,
right
from the get-go, which is amazing, amazing, amazing. So my question to you is, when does Jules go to work?
Now. not soon enough. I'm already tired of him just being a leech on the family.
Laying around. He's eating and shitting all day long. Let's go.
There's no doubt about it. But so this great conversation. If you are a leader in this group, I highly suggest that you push your organization to find yourself some maternity and paternity real, guidelines in order to help your organization be successful. But it is good to be home. There we are. There's all the things that happened over the past few weeks. It's great to get Lou introduced. And yeah, man, you figure out a way to make some normalcy out of it. And we had an absolutely phenomenal 3 weeks.
So, Mark, Deanne Hazy, a friend
Deanne,
of ours.
the app is the Nara app, Nara, and it is fantastic. Happy to help you use it, learn about it, whatever. Answer any questions you have about it. But
Hey, Mark, we're disappointed, man. We thought for sure at the 3-week mark he is coming on.
He's not ready yet. He's not ready yet.
He's gonna do like, what was that movie with John Travolta where the babies were talking and shit?
Yeah, look who's talking. Exactly.
Like, who's talking? He's gonna come on and go, these bozos think they know what they're doing.
So we've got some great morning motivational music about being back home, which is where I am right now. And then we're gonna come back and we're gonna talk about the National Day, which is National Telephone Day. We're going to talk about all about the phone.
Ooh, my phone.
I'm gonna need you to raise your glass. I don't care what you put in it. Here's the nights that you can't take back. We live hard, but we love to laugh. We all thought that we'd get rich fast. Hop the plane out for greener grass. Found out the greenest cash don't compare to the friends that last. See, we won't forget where we came from. The city won't change us. We beat to the same drum. No, we won't forget where we came from. The city can't change us. We beat to the same drum. The same drum.
Andy Grammer had no idea who that was, found that song. It was like, this is fantastic.
Just ask Jake, who is this?
No idea.
No
so
idea.
Andy Grammer is the
He's
artist.
done a couple of really good songs.
Yeah.
If you look at his body of work, it's good stuff.
So it is National Telephone Day, and I'm really glad that you ended up joining the show with me today because you were the phone guy. And so some fun stats about the phone before we get into this conversation that I bet you didn't know is that Alexander Graham Bell didn't actually invent the phone first. He gets credited with it, but Antonio Meucci, who is often credited as creating the prototype of the telephone, was the first person to put that out into the world and used it as a way to convert electrical signals to sounds. So then Alexander Graham Bell, as people do, rip off and duplicate, took his work and expanded upon that to eventually create the telephone. But then in 1983, which is where it's very pertinent to you and your history, the first mobile phone was born. And I mean, you were at one point walking along the beach with like the box and the phone and the cord and everything else that was happening prior to the brick phone, which, like, I remember watching Saved by the Bell, and Zach Morris had the brick phone. You know, it was like the cool thing to have.
So, it's so interesting when I look at that as a flashback. It was when I got introduced to the opportunity, it was like, what's a cell phone and why do people need to have a phone with them all the time? And now obviously we're at the antithesis of it where you can't. It's basically
your phone is much more than a phone.
It's a part of your hand. I mean, it's everything that you do. So, for me, the memories were great. To your point, it was a Panasonic transportable because what it could do was I could remove the box from my trunk, put it in a holder, strap it around, and then the phone was right there. I would just pick up the handset. And the reality is I was strutting down the beach with it, but nobody had my number.
So the real point that I want to drive home here is that in 1983, the mobile phone was created, which immediately changed the way you could have access to people. And as the phone has continued to iterate, the way you have access to people has continued to change. But so in today's world, we went from the original phone, and oh, by the way, the original tactic that was created for that phone was cold calling. We moved to the mobile phone, which allows you to catch people anywhere, still cold calling, to now we have the smartphone. So even though we have smartphones, the way we use them is still the same for some reason. How many times do you get a random number calling you a day that you don't answer, you don't pay attention to, you don't respond to the voicemail? You know, we have the cold call stats that show you, and it just absolutely doesn't work. So with a smartphone, here's where I think things change, and the data behind it to prove to you how it's changed. 85% of US adults own a smartphone, right? The average American spends 5 hours and 24 minutes on their smartphone. Do you know what they spend almost 50% of that time doing? Social media.
Scrolling, baby, scrolling.
Scrolling the news feed. So here you have a tool where you know people are spending their time, spending over 5 hours a day on it, and 50% of that time is then spent in social media, which obviously always comes back to the fact that we talk about social selling. How do you leverage the tools of social media? You know people are there. You know what they're doing there. How you develop a strategy and a tactic to help yourself be successful in business development where people are is so critical. Yet everybody still goes back to the old school tactic, right? And this is mind-blowing to me. We use the old school philosophy. We use the old school thought process with the new school tools and expect to have the same results. And I have absolutely I have no idea why people do that.
Yeah. So, it's a big part of my presentation today. For those who don't know, I've been working with Midas for over 3 years now. This is their first in-person event since I started working with them. We had originally scheduled to do something March of 2020. We all know what happened then. I had been working with them since November prior to that, but it was all about modernizing their approach to being the typical franchise owner, waiting, doing advertising. Well, what the phone and all of this stuff has done is allowed us to market ourselves. So the reason why I'm able to be on the Huddle this morning is that they changed the flow this morning to have me close the morning instead of start it, because they were afraid if I went first,
right,
they would lose everybody for the rest of the time. So
yeah, nobody wants to go back to all of the corporate jargon after sitting through 60 minutes.
I'm going to use the fact that it's National Telephone Day. I will use that. Those are the kind of tidbits that when you know them, and that's a relevant conversation, because everybody can have some memory of their first cell phone, whether it was in the car. Bob Goldfarb, did I sell you that audio box? I probably did. And you know why I sold you that audio box? Because they paid me more than Motorola did.
So that, to me, when you talk about the tactics of selling, and you talk about the tactic of social media, you talk about the tactic of video, the phone is still great. It's a smartphone now. So it doesn't only have to be through calling. How you leverage video through text message, how you leverage video through social media, how you leverage your social media to, market yourself, to connect, to engage. All of these are strategies and tools that the world has evolved. I'm using an app to help schedule my baby. The world has evolved. My favorite thing you said to me since Jules was born was, if we dropped your generation into being a parent today, you guys would be lost, because the world has changed.
No idea.
It's very different. Yet while the world has changed in every way, our tactics haven't changed, which we know they have. And I'm excited for you to get to talk to Midas today to share that with everybody.
It's going to be great. Obviously, tomorrow I'll be able to do that. In the morning, I'll be back. I fly back right afterwards. Then it's Princeton, New Jersey on Wednesday and Thursday. So crazy, crazy week for me. I'm excited that you're back in the seat. I'm excited that the president is back and can take over the reins of the company, because I'm freaking exhausted, dude.
It's good to be back. Good to be back in the Huddle. Great start to the week. Everybody have a fantastic day. Go break a leg on stage. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning.
Please don't worry about me. I'm about to let my heart speak. My friends keep telling me to leave this. So let's get down to business. Let's get down to business. Give you one more night to get this.